email? What does it mean?
Communication is the imparting or exchanging of information or news.
The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place.
Conversation is the oral exchange of sentiments, observations, opinions, or ideas.
Forbes Books Radio presents The Conversation with Clinton M. Padgett.
Welcome back to part two of my discussion with Emmanuel Caprais, Senior Vice President and Chief Financial Officer at ITT Incorporated. We pick up our conversation with Emmanuel talking about how he motivates his team to achieve more than they thought was possible.
I think the only thing that I do is to show them what I see. And I think it's very useful for people to have a different view from their own. And so by me trying to help them see what I see, which is a different picture than what they have what they have, because they're so much into a project, because they're buried into the details. I'm just doing my job as a leader to try to elevate them and elevate their performance and give really the most of their abilities. I trust my people. I'm very positive about my people, and so I need them to feel the trust that I have for them, to feel the trust I'm placing in them, and so I'm just here to enable them to be successful. And so it may be the case that they don't see they can achieve that they see they can achieve only 50% of the goal, and so it's my job to show them what it could look like to achieve 100% of the goal, and to be there when they need support, because they probably think as the first thought is probably, what can I do on my own? And so that's where collaboration, that's where teamwork is there, is so important, because that makes you achieve so much more than you can do individually. And then, the adage, the sum of several people doesn't equate to the individual sum of their capabilities, but a much greater product. And so in that case, focusing really on the potential and trying to articulate for them what we can get to is, I think, what makes the difference for the people, and really feel that and when they feel that I can really help them, I'm just showing them an alternative world of possibles.
Right. So let's talk about company culture for a minute. ITT is a global company, as I said earlier, operating in more than 35 countries. As a leader at ITT, how do you achieve a positive and cohesive company culture when your offices and employees are located globally?
Yeah. So as we discussed, traveling and meeting face to face is super, super important. I think a key when you want to be an effective leader is to know what your teams are doing and to know what business is about. It's very complicated. It's very complicated to have a good conversation when the operating teams are informing the management, spend their time informing the management about what's going on. So making the effort by yourself to try to understand the business so that you can skip over that part, and it doesn't feel for your teams, it doesn't feel like they have to explain to you the context in order for you to provide a recommendation for a decision, if they need a decision. And so doing that work of really knowing into the details how your business is functioning is really important. And then you get to do that when you travel around the world to facilities, understanding their problems. You do that when you participate to project reviews. You do that when you participate to customer negotiation and try to understand what's at stake. Once you gain that understanding of the business, then you're much more effective as a manager and as a leader. And so you build that, as you build that alignment, everything clicks into place. And people, and the virtuous circle is also important, because people now come to you when they have an issue, and you don't have to find it out by yourself. And then so if people come to you, then that's where things work, and an organization is also much more efficient. So I would say ITT, like many companies, has to deal with challenges of having different locations. we try to be close to our people. We try to be informed as leaders, and hopefully, by showing that we're here to collaborate, we're here to drive teamwork, it actually happens.
Yeah, I think culture is really difficult, right? It's one of the things that how does a company operate when the lights are, when the curtains are closed? Everybody can put up a good front. So to be able to create a cross company culture that's cross continents, cross global, I mean, that's a fairly difficult job. And it sounds like you're doing the right things to make that happen. So kudos to you and ITT on that. Now, this April, ITT announced a $25 million commitment to green energy projects, including solar panel investments and energy efficiency initiatives. As someone who helped spearhead this project, can you talk about guiding major projects like this one and the importance of making an investment today that will pay off for your organization in the future? Because that clearly requires a leap of faith that says we do this today, we will indeed see that benefit later on. And you kind of alluded to it. That's the same expectation you have from the people that are pitching projects, is prove to me that what your thought process of how we're going to realize that gain. So put it back on you now.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think that here specifically, there are several things that we're trying to solve. The first one is there is a very serious concern about energy security. And so if we don't have that energy security, for us, it's very simple. We're not able to operate our plants and we're not able to ship to our customers. So that's really an important thing on our mind. The second thing is to be able to manage our costs appropriately. And we know that with the fluctuations in terms of energy prices, it's getting really difficult to manufacture a product at a predictable cost. So by doing those by making those investments, we're able to ensure a portion of the energy security and then also control our cost. There's still a portion that we don't control because we cannot produce 100% of the energy needs with rooftop solar panels, but we are decreasing that risk. And then finally, the last point is about doing something that's good for the environment. Why wouldn't we produce green energy if we can do it? And the payback, I would say the payback is a little longer. It's between 5 and 6 years compared to our standard payback, which is around 3 years. But you gotta take the long view. And the long view is that there's going to be increasing volatility in terms of energy prices, that energy production is going to be challenged by the transition to cleaner energy and the decommissioning of traditional energy sources, as well as the fact that the war in Ukraine has severely affected, for instance, in Europe, the energy markets. And so, to me, these projects and this investment of 25 million made sense. It clearly addressed part of our energy security and energy cost concerns, and also allowed us to say that we were doing something good for the environment. And if the counterpart to that is to accept longer payback, for me it's okay, and for the company, obviously, for ITT is okay.
Yeah, that's good. My 16-year-old often asks why. What am I doing? Because instead of messing up his world, what am I doing to make it better? So whether at ITT or before, what do you consider to be your greatest career accomplishment to date, and what are you most proud of professionally?
I would say for me, what really allows me to wake up in the morning is the fact that I see, when I help people, I see the benefit of my work. And to me, that's really important. Being able to make a difference for people, being able to enable them for their success and the success of the company is really, in general, what motivates me. It's not money, it's not power. I don't care about that. It's the impact, the positive impact that I can have on people and organizations. And if I'm able to do that, I'm very happy. I'm not able to do it every day, unfortunately. So some days I come home and I'm pretty down. but if I'm able to have maybe 2 days out of the week where I've had clear examples of my work helping somebody else to achieve the goals of the company and to achieve their goals and to make them successful, then I'm happy.
Well, the good news is even on those days you come home not happy, the gift of life is tomorrow you get another shot at it, right?
That's right.
So let's look into the future, 5 years, 10 years, whatever from now. What do you hope to be doing and what do you hope to have achieved?
Big question. So, I'm very thankful that ITT trusted me to be the CFO of ITT. This has been a goal of mine, a professional goal. And when I started my career, I didn't really know how to achieve it. And then year after year, assignment after assignment, uh, things were a little clearer. And so I'm really enjoying being the CFO of ITT and being a CFO in general. As we mentioned, the impact that you can have in such position on an organization is tremendous. The responsibility is also tremendous. So that's why I don't think I'll be able to do that for another 20 years. I have a lot of gray hairs already. Um, but I would say for me, uh, I see myself as the CFO of ITT. I think there are so many things again that I can do from a finance team perspective, from an ITT team perspective, from a growth perspective, from a how to improve our processes, how to improve our people. And there's so many things that I can do that I think that it's going to keep me busy for the next few years. I think that in the future, one thing that is appealing to me is how can I give back to the community, and then so finding a role, either um, in a university or in a teaching role would be of interest to me. But so far, I mean, right now, my days are completely full, and so this is not something that I can think about right now in the near future. But down the line, why not?
So let me dig on that just a little bit. If it's 20 years from now and you're retiring and people are standing up saying what you meant to them personally or the organization, is there anything that kind of sticks out that you would hope that people say, well, I'm really glad I got to work with Emmanuel because of blank?
Um, because he inspired me to be better. I think that to me that would be enough to make me happy.
That's a good place to be. So as I wrap up, I have 3 questions I'd like to ask all the guests who come on the podcast. So the first one is, are there any leadership principles that speak to you personally and guide your day-to-day behaviors?
Absolutely, and those are very clear to me. So the number one is transparency, and within transparency, you can put ethics, you can put a lot of honesty, you can put a lot of those concepts. But being transparent in as a leader is so important because you tell people where you stand. And so they can decide right there and then if they want to trust you or if they don't. And then so as you get to exercise that transparency, every day you convince more and more people that it's worth actually collaborating with you. So transparency is super, super important. Second one is accountability. So I feel a lot of pride in taking on responsibilities and going and committing to those responsibilities and being accountable for what I'm tasked with. And as I feel as this is very important to me, I try to make sure that it's also important for the rest of the people that I work with. And I try to lead by example on this. And at ITT, what I usually tell my people is obviously being accountable means being accountable for your area of responsibility. As a finance professional, you're accountable to have a balance sheet that is in good shape. You're accountable to deliver financial statements with integrity. But accountability for me is more than that, is accountability to the success of the company. And as a finance professional, if you see something outside of finance that doesn't work, your responsibility is not to fix it because, if it's an engineering issue, a challenge, as a finance guy, I'm not going to be able to fix it. But my responsibility, if I see something that is not working, is to bug people enough that as a company, we want to address it. Because I know that if we don't address those type of issues, even if they're not finance, we cannot be successful as a company. And so that's why I see accountability as this. And then the last point is collaboration. To me, the end result of collaboration is so much greater than the sum of the parts. And so collaboration generates motivation, it generates enthusiasm, it generates new ideas. And so to me, I insist every day that I can about collaboration, and I try to demonstrate as much as I can also collaboration. And I try to lead by example and showcase the behaviors that that help people to collaborate.
So TAC, transparency, accountability, and collaboration. 3 things to live by. I like it. You almost answered this question earlier, but I'll ask it again. So what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Yeah, I think I'll go back to that. It's so simple. Asking why. Asking why every time you don't understand something, and don't assume that you get it and the others that are speaking are wrong. Ask why. Try to be curious. It's not always easy because sometimes you have a lot going on. You have a lot of conflicting priorities that you have to arbitrate, and it doesn't come naturally, especially for me. and so I can tell you that what really motivated me was seeing the few examples where I didn't ask why, and I was completely embarrassed in front of a lot of people. That led to situations that weren't productive from a business standpoint. And then so that's a stark reminder for me that I really need to be curious. I really need to take the time to ask why. And on the off chance that I don't capture everything. And most likely that's the case. So as a leader, what you have to recognize is that you don't know everything, and you will never be able to know everything. So that's why being curious and asking why and giving the people the chance to explain what's on their mind is key, not only as a matter of respect, but also as a matter of being effective as a business leader.
But I also think that's what makes teams powerful, is the fact that while you may not, as a leader, know everything, you surround yourself with people who do and can fill in those gaps. And I also think that's what makes collaboration so powerful, is in those conversations when you're collaborating is where you're asking the question why, and you're getting the explanation of why we're doing this. And I think as a team member, on one of your, if I'm under you on as a leader, if I understand the why we're doing this, I'm going to have a much better chance of hitting the end than if I just know go north. Okay, I'll go north. But if I know the goal is to achieve something by going north, then I have a much better ability to handle and make corrective actions as they occur, rather than have to come back and keep asking questions later.
Yeah, exactly.
So finally, what's the best book or article you read recently, and what was the key takeaway?
So there are 2 books that I'm thinking about, and those weren't recent reads, but they're very important. And then so for me, they're and you probably won't be surprised because you probably know them. The first one is The Goal by Eli Goldratt. So The Goal is, in my mind, an amazing book because it explains so simply the theory of constraints and allows you to right away make an impact in any organization you're in. And for people who don't like, big ideas book and who like a story, it's also formulated around the story, a very personal story. So it makes it so accessible for so many people. And so, in fact, whenever we hire someone in ITT, it comes with a letter from me where I explain clearly the vision for finance and what we want to do, and also with a copy of the goal. And I bought a bunch of them on Amazon for like a couple of bucks, used books, and I just distribute them in the organization. And I think I get a lot of really positive feedback. The second book is, that you probably know also, is Mindset by Carol Dweck. And this book is just incredible. And if you have to think about the couple of ideas that are in this book, is that number one, effort is the number one predictor of success. So when you work hard, you will be successful. It's just a matter of time. And then second, because effort by itself is not sufficient, constant redirecting based on the circumstances and readjusting what you're working on is what's going to lead you to success. So an example for this, a very simple example, is that if you're focused on effort, but you run into the wall every time, then you're not most likely going to make progress. You're going to make progress up until so far, right? But then if you say, okay, there's a wall in front of me, so there's no sense in me hitting the wall every time, and then I need to find a path around the wall, then that's when you find success. And I think those are the two key things, the two key ideas in this book: how to drive to your goal by really working hard, and readjusting your approach in order to really focus on the goal, but finding, as you were saying, Clint, the best way to get to that goal.
Yeah, I think that sometimes people will say, oh, so-and-so was lucky, but I found that so-and-so usually worked pretty hard. And so it was the effort that he or she put into it that put them in the place where they could, quote unquote, get lucky. And then when you were talking about the factory and looking for the constraints, the first thought I had was he's talking about the goal, because we read that book in business school as well. Yeah. And when I went to Duke. So I absolutely got that. Two great books, by the way. I like them both. Well, Emmanuel, this has really been great. I learned so much. I didn't expect to learn so much about leadership and team building from a finance guy. So I take that with the intention it's meant with, which is good things. Somebody once said, Clint, you're an engineer. Why do you care about people? I'm like, I don't know. It's just people do projects. So I got to care about the people side of things. So really appreciate your time today and all the insight you shared. Thanks for being on The Conversation.
Thank you very much, Clint. Take care.
Thanks for listening to The Conversation. To find out more about Clint, go to clintonmpaget.com and pick up Clint's book, How Teams Triumph, Managing by Commitment, at Amazon. The Conversation with Clinton M. Paget is a production of Forbes Books.